Famous moment when finally, after many years, Yaakov is reunited with his son Yosef. And there's much drama that leads up to this moment when Yosef reveals to his brothers that in fact he was Yosef. He's not this evil despot ruling Egypt, but he's their brother Yosef. And when the brothers head back to the land of Canaan, to the land of Israel, to tell their father Yaakov that Yosef is in fact alive, the Torah says that Yaakov became weak when he heard the news. Ki lo hamin lahem. He did not believe them. Why didn't he believe them? Well, on a simple level, it's because he was shocked. Yosef is dead. I've thought for 22 years that Yosef is dead. What do you mean that he's alive? It cannot be true. The Avos de Rabbi Nassan shares with us a different explanation. He says that you know why Yaakov didn't believe the brothers? Because he thought to himself, he had a flashback. Wait a second. If Yosef is alive, that means that you were lying 22 years ago when you brought me his colorful tunic stained with blood, claiming that he was torn apart by a wild animal. How could it be? You're liars. And the lesson of the Avos de Rabbi Nassan, what Yaakov felt inside, is that the fate of a liar is that even when you're telling the truth, you will not be believed. So he said to himself, it doesn't make sense. Tell me the truth now. And you lied before. And if you lied before, why should I believe you now? Being truthful is such an important trait. It's such an important Jewish value. Especially in a time where every day you turn on the news, the hottest topic is the elections. And we live in a society where the attitude is, it's just a white lie. Unfortunately, in the world of politics and politicians, lying is not frowned upon enough. And we should look for a leader that's truthful. That should be number one, or at least high on the list. I'd like to share a story about Rabbi Aaron Cutler, who headed the Lakewood Yeshiva. He founded the Lakewood Yeshiva. And they once printed a brochure for the yeshiva, and the designer added a few trees to the landscape to make the yeshiva look beautiful. And Aaron Cutler would not allow that brochure to be printed because he said it's not truthful. If the trees aren't there, we cannot print them in the brochure. The Chazon Ish was one of the great Jewish sages who lived in Israel. He passed away in 1953. He had a minyan every day in his house for mincha. And one day his nephew came to the minyan, and his nephew was the 10th person. It took a little while to get the minyan for him to come. So when they were about to start, later than usual, his nephew realized, if I daven at this minyan, I'm going to be late to a 2 o'clock doctor's appointment. And he asked the Chazon Ish what to do. And the Chazon Ish said to him, you can't stay. If it means not having the minyan that I always have, doesn't matter. You have to keep your word. You can't come late to the doctor's appointment. You said 2 o'clock you'll be there. This is an important lesson. And when we say we're going to be somewhere, when we say we're going to do something, we have to think before we say it. Because God forbid, if we don't think beforehand, we might not be truthful. And I'd like to close with a statement made by Shimon Schwab, who headed the Breuers community in New York for many years, head of the German Jewry. And Rabbi Schwab said, anything which is 99% true is 100% false. Think about that for 1 minute. Have a wonderful Shabbos.